All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Sorry for the big delay in the newest video, but as you can see from this picture here, we're chopping the bed down. In the last video, like I said, I took the truck cab and stuff for a test cruise, and everything rocked and rolled pretty good. So we got that moved out of the garage, and we got the bed in the garage, and we're cutting down the bed. So I thought I'd do this video quick before I got everything all chopped, so kind of show you. Like I said, I got the passenger side all chopped off here. So I decided on 14 inches out of the front of the bed. I just kind of didn't really go off anything necessarily. I've seen people do different things. You can go off of, if you want to have a short bed or whatever. For me, I go with aesthetics on all of mine. So I measure from, well, you can't really see it. So what would be, so say the truck, this is actually the head of the bed here. Obviously, tailgate's over there. So I measure from the back of the cab to the center of the rear axle, and then I measure that on the bed so that the axle will be and wheel and stuff will basically be centered here in the wheel well, is kind of the way I measure things out. So you can do it any way you want to. If you want to have like a short bed kind of deal with it and stuff, there's different ways, but for me, I want it to look better than anything else, and especially where I don't really care about bed sides, or bed size, I should say, and hauling all that kind of stuff with it. I mean, I have a full-size Chevy truck that I use for hauling things, so as I've said in I think all my other build videos, I don't necessarily care. I don't need an 8-foot bed and all that kind of fun stuff, and cutting this is a whole lot easier than taking the frame and cutting it and extending it, so you have the wheelbase that you need for a long bed truck. You can do that. People have done that. To me, it's not worth it to me, because I gotta change the chassis and add that in. You have to extend brake lines and the drive shaft and fuel lines and all that kind of stuff, and then you're adding on to the chassis. To me, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's safe. Most people can't do that. I know part of it too is these newer chassis for a long time now, and I've verified with this uncle that works in the body world and stuff, they're really not supposed to be chopped and welded on, all that kind of stuff. So they're actually made of metal so that you can't do that kind of stuff, so vehicles can't be stolen and chopped and cacked and all that kind of stuff. So to cut something up and then lengthen it out and all that kind of stuff, it just, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. That's kind of the reason why we're using all of this stuff, because like I've said, I don't think in this video, but in my other ones, Ford, they hired the best of the best to design this stuff for the Crown Vic. It's something that was used by law enforcement and taxi and everybody else for like 2000. Well, all the way up from whenever they first started making the Crown Vics, basically all the way up to 2013 or so, or 2010, whenever they stopped making it. So, they hired the best of the best to make these cars. So, it's well-designed stuff. It has to meet safety standards, all that kind of stuff. So, for me, I'd rather cut the bed. Now, I'm doing something different on this bed that I didn't do on all my other builds. So, all my other builds, what I did with the bed for the front was I basically cut my 14 inches like right in here out of the middle of the front head of the bed, and then the 4 inches or whatever, then you just cut a strip out. With this one, as you can see, I undid the head of the bed first. I'm going to chop the 14 out of the front, and then I'm just going to put the head of the bed right back in here, and the bed's over here. So see this line right here? That's going to be why that's cut like it is. I actually measured 14 inches from the head of the bed in. So what it does is that it mimics that body line with back over here with it, so that when you butt this up against the cab, this is going to sit close to the cab, and then this here will actually, as you can see, you can actually see how it does that. So this will sweep out and kind of meet the outer edge of the cab, so that, I mean, you could cut it straight if you wanted to, but then when you look at the side of the cab where the bed sits and stuff, then you're going to have, a funky gap, and you'll be able to see the frame and stuff. This just kind of sweeps in here, kind of wings out, so that when you look at this, then you're just seeing the gap between here and the cab. You're not looking down and seeing the chassis back inside there. So, I mean, it depends on what you want to do. And then this line here is just 14 inches. Let's see if I can get this to, there we go. Is 14 inches from here to there, and just straight all the way along, and that's all straight. But this edge, like I said, is from here to 14 inches, and as this sweeps out, then that's going to change that. So when you cut it, you just follow that line. It's really not that bad. So in the head of the bed will sit in here like this, and then the edge will lay up against here, and then I will just kind of slit this and knock it over, bend a little bit, butt weld it, whatever I need to do, and it's not a big deal, because then the cab is going to sit right here, so you really won't see back inside of here on it. So it fits out really nice. So that way, there's no seams on the side of the bed that I have to put in. There's no seam in the middle of the bed. Now again, back here, that's a lot harder to do. I've seen stuff. I think you can split stuff. Now these are a little bit different. I've never done this style of bed. See, this is all one piece. Now on the earlier years, the 67 to 72, there's a seam right here where the taillight housing and stuff actually is its own separate piece, along with this whole section over here. So right there, it actually matches that seam on this side over here. So this is all separate. So what you can do is you can cut it here, cut back, and then roll that and butt it so that that's actually the seam that you have, so you don't have a seam in the middle of the bed. So this one, I'm going to start with the head of the bed, get the hole cut out for the suspension and stuff, set it on to the Crown Vic onto the truck, and then see where things set and see if I want to shorten this down or not, because then you have to mesh with the Ranger and the taillight thing and stuff like that. Of course, I've seen guys that what they'll do is cut, and then they'll actually go do and around and down, so that taillight or that side marker, whatever the heck it's called, actually stays in the spot. It just gets moved up to here, or whatever it gets moved on. This whole thing comes up here or whatever. So we'll see. We'll get back to that later. And then as a side note, so this is the gas fill. It looks like I might actually be able to use that stock location, because when I bring anything forward, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take the floor up on this one to that line right there at least, or so I'll raise this whole thing up. So that'll give me a nice cavity actually to run over to here and to the stock gas fill spot. So that'd be kind of fun if that works, because all the other ones I've had, the fill is kind of like right here in the fender. Actually, I think it sits like out here ish somewhere, so you got to kind of fill it in, so which actually looked pretty good. It turned out really well the way I did on mine. Check out my other videos. Again, all the trucks I've done so far, the other three were on the earlier bod style, 67 to 72. This is the first time I've done this year, so I watched some YouTube videos and saw this little here idea, and I wanted to do that anyway with the earlier years, because I don't like having the big seam here. It's different if you're doing all body work and painting, but if you're kind of trying to leave the patina, then you got to worry about trying to mess with that line and seam and stuff, and it's kind of hard to weld. So I want to try and do it this way, and so that's the way we're gonna do it. But yeah, I just wanted to, so like I said, that's the cut side, this is the uncut side, but there's the line that, like I said, measured from that edge to that edge, just from there to there, 14 inches. Obviously it changes as this goes up, as I said before, so I'll actually take that probably and move it to like right there, just inside. That way I've got all three of those tie downs. Might be kind of a cool way to do it. Obviously the bedpost or pocket will be gone, but I don't really care, because I don't really need it. If you have these things and you really don't use those pockets, unless you're gonna have like a wood side bed or something, I don't know. I just don't really need it, so I don't really care if there's not three of them. It'll make people look at it kind of funny and go, what? And some people complain about it. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So more to come after we get rock and rolling at that. Just wanted to give a quick update. So if anyone wants to do a long bed conversion from a short bed to a long bed, then I'll sell you these bedsides and the floor and stuff really cheap. I promise. All right, that's everything, guys. Talk to you later.